All right. Going live in three, two.
Like you already went
When?
live, or you were going live?
When?
I already pointed.
Oh, you already. So
I
this
said
means
3, 2, and then I pointed.
that's live. That's live.
So we're live now.
So we're
We're
live.
gonna be 18th
So
level and still
can you
trying to figure that
again?
out.
Can you start it again?
We'll shut down the stream.
Because I
I'll
wasn't
delete
ready.
it and we'll restart. All right. All right.
I like
3,
it.
2.
Wait.
Too
Hey,
much.
buddy.
Nope.
Okay.
Too much.
All right. Welcome everyone to Echo Chamber. This is the session in which we talk about the previous week's session. Biggest thing we can talk about is everybody got drunk, right? We all got drunk and
Everybody got
found
drunk.
out that the Giants, well, we think the Giants have taken the pieces from the spot that they were dumping them, right? We don't know if it was the Giants, but and I guess we should probably point out that Warwick, one of our new members, decided he would haggle and find out the penis size of a vendor. So
Yeah, look, it got us
Inquiring
somewhere.
minds want to know.
Yeah, it got us somewhere. We ended up getting what? Basically a horse for free at that point in time, right? I
we
feel like
yeah
it's
we,
worth it.
we got a little bit more than a horse if you think about it. I mean, we got probably 120 gold for free, pretty much, somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
So I
Yeah,
feel
you guys
like
got a pretty good deal. It's nice having someone that can bargain in the party.
I feel like it's
For
all
sure.
worth it. It's all relative.
Or steal a boat. One of the two.
Hold on,
We're not
Yeah,
at
you
that
still
level
overpaid.
yet.
we're stealing boats now? What?
Get it
Different
easy.
campaign. Another campaign. We Garrett's character Mordai may have stolen a boat. So uh, we'll get there. We'll get there. The Phandalin Five are
Commandeered.
yeah. Well, we own the boat now. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
So I feel like the Phandalin Five are a little above stealing a boat. Like I don't know. I feel like we have too many. I don't want to say lawful good, but we have too many people who aren't neutral enough or aren't chaotic enough to do that.
I
I
mean,
see. You're too good for Mordai. You wouldn't invite him to the party. I understand.
I'm not saying that. I love Mordai. Carl loves Mordai. Amrook probably would be a little too cranky for Mordai.
Mordai would love Amrook.
I feel like Mordai and Dildo Shaggins would get along though.
Potentially.
we might
I
have
don't
to
know. He
bring
might not like the competition.
Or they might team up and it'll be like double trouble.
Ooh, that could be bad.
the shag fest. Oh yeah. Make it pretty fun. I think we could have fun with it. Yeah. We could definitely have fun with that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's start off. We're not going to jump into stats today. However, I think biggest thing we can talk about is I just want to get you guys' opinion on the missing pieces of the Vonendod. What the fuck? Where are they? Right, Eric?
Yeah, man. That was that. You know, I want to say I was surprised, but I wasn't.
I wasn't either. That's why I wanted us to go there. But at the
Yeah,
same time,
yeah.
to have that confirmation, it's
Yeah.
shit. Is this going to
Yeah.
accelerate things, or what do we do? From
Well,
an outside perspective, Keegan, like not knowing that much about the pieces of the Von and Dodd and the backstory of it, like we just look like chickens with our heads cut off at this point to you, I assume.
I didn't even know we got confirmation that the pieces were fucking missing. I'm out. I thought we were still looking. At what point in time in any of this did we find out that they were gone? What did that? Was this while I was having a conversation with the other people at the other table? What happened?
No, this
no,
was
no.
we at the end of the session we went to the quote unquote raw dump spot with that waterfall, and Adrin went in crocodile style.
Never mind.
That's a new term.
I remember what we're talking about now. Okay, so that's where the one piece was dropped to the bottom.
Yeah.
We
And
we
Yeah.
we we used or we saw you used the divining rod and we found that there were many pieces down
There were a
there.
couple of them. Yeah.
We couldn't tell how many, but when Adrian went down there, there was
none
nothing.
gone.
So
So I love now knowing this that Keegan didn't know what was going on. So basically, Warwick was just like, man, these guys really love waterfalls.
Yep.
Mhm.
Wow, they're just, you
Yeah,
guys are just staring at it all dejectedly. You got an
Mhm.
alligator swimming around in it. And
Yeah.
Well,
all
see,
right, these guys fucking like waterfalls. That's what they do. They just float around looking for cool waterfalls.
well, the character of Warwick, I feel, is at this point in time not really there to try to how do I say it? It's not really there to try to help you on your main quest because A, he doesn't know the main quest. B, I don't know the main quest. So he's kind of just there to see what's going on, and I feel like it's still the treasure hungry side of him, right? So if I can find some opportunity for myself, I'll surely do it. And then as I'm doing this, I'm still trying to build in a decent backstory with it all. So I think I have a pretty good one set up. I just don't know how I want to play it because it's either going to go really, really good or piss everyone off, which can be still really, really good.
Maybe both. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Mhm.
All I'm going to say is if we go after this massive dragon, we could accelerate my backstory a little bit. It could get interesting real quick.
There you go, guys. Another reason to do it. Let's go for it.
You know what? The more I want to do, or the more I think about it, the more I want to go after at least one of those young dragons. I know we shouldn't. I absolutely know we should not, but I want to. I can't help it.
So, do we know where young dragons are, or do we know where a dragon is that is hopefully young?
We know where a dragon is that is hopefully young. We know where we believe is an adult dragon, and we have an idea somewhere to the north of where an ancient dragon is. So pick your level. I mean, we'll just
I feel like if we start off strong, just with the ancient one, all the other ones are going to seem weak. So we might as well do that one first, right?
right. It depends. Like our next characters after going against the ancient dragon they might not.
I mean, there could be another character. We mentioned Dildo Shaggins. He could make an appearance. You never know.
Secretly, and I'm gonna throw this out there. I've said it before. Secretly, I think Dildo Shaggins is the mastermind behind all of this. He's actually putting the pieces of Vanadad together to be like the master of the giants. He's got like some sort of Napoleon complex or something. Dildo Shaggins is out there, and I think he's up to no good.
So
So,
he
do you think he's
he
working
killed
with
the.
Linene or independently?
All right, I will admit I was wrong about Linene. Well, we think we were wrong. Jury's still out. That's all I'll say.
So do we think? Do you think that Dildo actually killed the Storm King or the Storm Giant King?
I mean, he had someone else do it. Let's be honest.
Oh, okay.
He's a sneaky little bard. He's a puppet master. He's not about getting his hands too dirty in that way. He'll get them dirty
Okay.
in other ways, you know.
I'm hoping
Okay.
he did it with his bare hands.
Are you sure
Just
it's not
little
somebody?
halfling up there trying to strangle this Storm King giant.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not somebody already in the party?
I mean, not necessarily, but that'd be a weird twist. I mean, I guess it's been done, but it would be a weird twist.
Would
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, it would be a weird twist
Chris.
because, like, as I said in the beginning, like we all have like these somewhat lawful good characters in this party, and so it would be a weird twist.
But can't you, as you continue on with your character, can't you change that from lawfully good to maybe lawfully neutral, and then
Mhm.
depending
Yes.
on
Oh,
the actions
absolutely. Yeah, your
taken?
character can
Yeah.
develop.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we talked about that like 4 weeks ago or so, guys. Yeah. So that lawful whatever alignment is like your starting point, and then you go from there. And as your character develops, that might change. Same with deity worshiping. You might start out worshiping Gabriel like Griswold, and then end up, oh man, Gabriel, I can't believe you're that vengeful. I'm going to actually go this way and worship the Oaken Father.
Interesting. Yeah, you never know. I don't know. Could have some interesting backstories. I mean, we did just add in 3 characters, so
Well, so I didn't want to make it, and we didn't want to sit down and be like, okay, give us your whole backstory. Although some of us do that, but
tell us one thing about yourself. All right, guys, here's the deal.
I mean, in his defense, Eric did just ask a general question, and it was like, I'm glad you asked that. And he just spilled the beans on everything.
Keegan, I think you were offline when I said this, but I was this close of going. Evan, can you repeat everything? Your mic cut completely out. I didn't hear a damn thing that you said.
That would have been awesome. I would have thoroughly enjoyed it. I would have.
Yeah. I would have just gone and told you to watch the Diablo 1 cinematic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to see where things go, and I don't know if splitting up or not. I'm interested to see how that works out. You know, if we do end up splitting up, like right now, I think we're pretty much all on the same path. But
Yeah, I don't think
I don't
splitting
know.
up is a good idea.
It's not
Yeah,
a good idea. I mean, we threw it out there, but it's probably not a good idea, to be honest, because of like the difficulty of creatures and stuff that we're the giants themselves. I mean, it'd be tough. We'd have to have some additional NPCs help us each side. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
All right, how about this? I give you 2 young dragons. The group can split. See which one wins.
uh,
I like it.
you
I'm,
know, I
I'm for
like
it.
it. Maybe only one. All right, so here's the deal. Here's what we do. We joined a cult, and the cult is making us split into 2 different factions. One side has to fight a dragon, a young dragon. The other side has to fight something else unknown.
Or one fights against the dragon, the other one fights for the dragon.
Ooh, I like that too.
Ooh.
All right, so let's start off with some questions then. Keegs, you're coming in. You don't know our backstories. We don't know yours. For you, as I mean, what is this? Your 8th session, 10th session, something like that. How would you like to reveal uh, Warwick's backstory, or how would you like to hear more about others? Because we've thrown ideas around, and I kind of want to get your take into on it as coming late into it.
You know, I definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the whole idea of just like sharing the backstory, right? I mean, I like the game that we played last game or last session, which was nice, just a little bit. Then we
The
do have
little
other
tease.
characters that, like to spill the beans on one question. I don't know if that's that character or if it's that person. Maybe a little bit of
All right,
both.
hold on. I love that he spilled the beans so much that when we played the game, he didn't have anything else to share. He was like,
I don't know what else to tell you.
"All right, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead."
Yeah, what I don't know. I kind of like to see it spilled a little more through like actions versus like I like the game that we played, which was nice, a little bit here and there, but I'd really like to see it based off of actions that we take in the game. And that could be anything, whether it's, talking to a shopkeep, like we know the rogue steals shit all the time, doing something like that, or actions that we take, actually fighting someone. Like your character, right? You killed that lady, the big lady, right? And that revealed a
Yeah.
little bit about you. Obviously, didn't tell us about your backstory, but we're starting to piece it all together. You know, you being the general in the I forget what army, right? You have some type of bloodlust about you for whatever reason. So we're starting to piece it together. So I like it.
Mhm.
That's what I want to see. It's just backstories based off of actions.
Okay, so then, based on those actions, is Warwick then going to, use that RP time before bed or on watch or whatever to ask questions and be like, "Hey, I'm Rook. What the fuck was up with that? Why did you kill them?" Or like, how are you coming into it late? Going because we haven't really done that as a group. I mean, we're just now really
Yeah,
starting
really
to
starting to get into that.
get
Yeah.
into that. So I mean, you're coming in at a perfect time, but I'm
Mhm.
curious how you feel that would play out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am fine asking additional questions, but right now I think so. My character is still very treasure driven, just about himself. Hold on, dogs are barking. Let me shut the door. Hold on.
I can't hear him at all, but I'll trust you on it.
You said the dogs.
Sorry, dogs were freaking out. Yeah, no, I think for me, I'm still trying to come to grips with actually being in the group, right? So I I'm gonna start asking questions, but I feel like if I start asking questions, that's gonna open up you guys to ask questions about me, and I just don't know if my character's there yet.
Yeah, which is perfectly understandable. So that's a good way to play it. I was just curious, like how you foresaw the backgrounds coming out, and I think it's a balancing act. And I'll throw this to you, Eric. How do other groups that you've been in do that balancing act between RP and the actual fighting and stuff?
It's kind of funny. A lot of my other groups are really not role playing driven. They are in combat. It's kind of I don't know if I can explain it, but they're more RP driven in combat. Um, my Friday group, there's not really a lot of RP involved with it as much. Now my college buddies, Thursday night group, there is more of it because it's more of theater of the mind, you guys like to say. So there definitely is some more RP involved in it, but it's different. It's really hard to explain. It's different to just the play styles are different to really compare. I'm not saying anything's better than the other. They're fun either way, for me
Right.
anyway.
Right, we talked about like three kinds of people that play. Like there's some story driven, there's combat
Mm-hmm.
driven, and then there's like loot and treasure driven. And I think multiple people go through those phases as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Evan's obviously treasure driven, if I could talk. And I think I was a little treasure driven at first. I'm just gonna say
Mm-hmm.
loot. And we'd go through the battle. I want to search the bodies. Did we find anything? That type of stuff. And then as we progressed, like, nah, I don't really care. I'm like, you can search it. You can have the gold. I'd rather just give out the gold each town we go to. I mean, eventually I'm gonna need some gold to do that, but that's just not me. So I think you kind of not only the character's arc, but the player's arc in the way they play the
Mm-hmm.
game. I don't know, Garrett, have
Yeah.
you seen that with us or?
Oh, absolutely. And it's still ongoing. I mean, I see each of you taking a different path on the way you're playing the game. Eric, you're probably the most consistent, but that's only because you obviously have a storied back history with the game, so you kind of knew how you wanted to play it to begin.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to see how your dynamic with the group has been changing,
Yeah.
as theirs has. You've kind of adapted yours as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, for me coming in and being fairly new to it, what's getting me is I'm still in that mindset of I'm worrying about what everybody else is going to think about what I do instead of just having fun and playing the character how I see the character being played. Because at the end of the day, that's really the whole point of the game, right? I mean, you go in with
Absolutely.
a group, but you're supposed to role play it as you think the character would be played, not what you think as a person how the character should be played, if that makes sense, right? And I'm still in that mindset of, oh wait, this may piss off the group or whatever the case, but as long as I'm not trying to really ruin it, i.e., trying to stab one of you guys in the back physically and kill your
Yeah. Yeah.
character, you know what I mean? To some extent, I just need to open up a little bit. So I'm going to try and, you know, really build into my backstory and kind of let loose on who I think the character is and just see what happens. I mean, what's the worst case? My character dies and maybe you run across dildo shaggins again. Who knows? Yeah.
See, that's interesting, Keeks, because I thought you came in and just jumped right into a character. I mean,
Yeah.
you got familiar and got comfortable with RP in both cases, two different
Yeah.
characters, faster than probably anybody else in the campaign. So the fact that you still think
Yeah.
you're holding back is interesting. Uh, so I
Yeah,
can't wait to see what happens when you do fully unleash. That's what I look forward to.
yeah, and I think it's I don't know. I'm just still trying to get a feel for I don't know what I'm trying to get a feel for, to be honest. I just feel like I'm not I'm holding back a little bit. So we'll see. I don't
I
know.
think
I don't know
I
how to
think the
word it.
difference is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Keegan, but so Keegan jumped into Dildo Shaggins, and he went straight for the role playing with the voice and everything, and actually doing what he thought that character would do. But the difference is backstory. So what he's saying is he feels like he doesn't act the way the character would act because he doesn't have that fully developed backstory that he's playing off of. He's just in the moment playing that character. And so there's a little difference there. Whereas you think about like Adrin and Griswold, like their decisions are based off their backstory. It's not an in the moment decision. Well, for the most part.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's right to some extent. Yeah. I do have an interesting backstory played out to it, and I think to some extent I'm playing that. But whenever I look at the character as just a whole, right? I mean, my character is supposed to be very, very luck driven and very. Um, I see it as like a risk taking, very luck driven character, right? And I feel like I'm not really taking those risks quite yet. And I don't know if it's maybe I'm just trying to stay back and see what the group's going to do or who the group is as a person. So I feel like I'm torn between that. I'm kind of just sitting back, which is something the character would do to an extent, but I'm also really not taking risks, which is what I see the character really doing. Because luck
Mm.
is supposedly always on my side, right? So I should be able to jump in and take more risks, I guess. But now I'm just more so sitting back and trying to gather information for myself so then I can make a decision, which
Yeah.
I see both of it, but I kind of want to jump in and be a little more risk averse and see what happens.
I
I don't
think
know.
that risk taking will come as you become more quest driven and party driven. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
do
can
too. Yeah.
already
Yeah.
see, with that interaction between Amrook and Warwick as they were going into the shop, and that little like 30-second discussion in which you're like, well, what about the gold? Are we splitting that? And that was like your acceptance. Yeah, no, I'm going to be part of the party, but I want to split the gold.
Yeah.
And so I can already see that acceptance and stuff developing, and I think, over the next couple battles you'll find yourself, more into it than previously, and you won't be thinking about, well, I'm going to sit back and wait and see who takes charge here. It'll be, okay, he's doing this, I have to do this so that, we can get the treasure or whatever it is. I could be completely wrong, but
So, I mean, with that being said, what's the overall stance of the party anyway? So, is the team trying to stop the Vonnegut from happening? Is the team trying to defeat the Storm Giants, or is that all in the same thing, right? The Storm Giants are trying to create it.
No, the fire giants.
the
Fire
fire
Giants.
giants, but
Fire
Yeah.
Giants.
I think honestly we don't know enough about the story, and that's part of the reason
Yeah.
that Adrian and
Yeah.
Amrook are pushing for Siddle to get back his memory because he knows more than any of us about the Von and Dodd. And so
So
if
how do we know he knows about the Vonnegut though? Is that what he's telling us, or
he had a little brief moment in which he's the only one out of us that could tell us something about the Von and Dodd. And
okay?
he was
Yeah.
based on his research. So we don't know what happened, why he lost his memory. We need to figure that out, get his memory back so he can tell us more about it, and then we need to, continue that quest in order to search for the information about the Vonnegut in order to know whether we should stop it or what we should do.
Interesting. And Garrett, so furthering off of that, I mean, how much of this like Von and Dodd creation, Fire Giants, how much of this are you creating on the spot, or how much of this storyline do you have written out already?
Behind the DM screen.
Yeah, I'm curious because like in my mind, how I'm seeing this is our ultimate quest is we defeat the fire giants, we find the Von and Dodd, do whatever we're gonna do with it, whether we keep it, destroy it, whatever. And then that's the quest, right? That's the main thing that we're trying to do as of right now. So yeah,
That's
Garrett,
one
how
of them. I think the other part of the equation is who killed the storm giant king. So I think they're kind of like hand in hand sort of thing.
okay, yeah.
They
So
they definitely intertwine, and honestly, I think some of our backstory quests will intertwine with this as well. So picture it like you're playing an RPG video game. You have that main goal, you know what I mean? Think about Fable 2. You had that main goal, but you couldn't just go do it, right? You had to
Right.
go do these other little things in order to build yourself up, but then you find out later on that all of those little things kind of interconnected to create this web that at the center was that spider that we had to take out.
Yeah, Garrett, I'm curious. I mean, it's very complex. I'm sure you have backstories from a lot of characters that you have to build into all of this, right? So, how much of this do you create on the fly, and how much of it do you actually have already pre-drawn out, I guess?
So the core of the story is already drawn out. I've relied pretty heavily on the book. Now it's the core of Storm King's Thunder is a pretty thick book.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
uh,
so this is based off of a book. This is a storyline based off of a book from D&D.
it is. So that's
Okay,
what
cool.
created the initial core. From that, as things have been going and as you guys have been playing it, I've been adjusting it. So the core is still there, kind of the think of it as the trunk of the tree. It is still fairly accurate, although I've bent the tree a little bit and for purposes. I've built out the rest of the trees. Every branch, every leaf, everything else is coming from what you guys do on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and it's continuously evolving. So as you give me your backstory, that creates a whole new branch, which is going to be interesting and ties in. So I have the core of this web, and then I'm building out the rest of it is unique to this party.
Interesting. I like it.
And a large, so let me put it this way too. The way I try to play it is I use that book to build the map. I know everyone's intentions. There's the big bads and everything else in place here. Lineen and Dildo. So I know their
I was hoping for
intentions
some slip there.
for
All
why,
right, I was listening.
for why they've done what they've done. However, once I built that world in my mind of there's all these people, all these places that are trying to accomplish this end game, as what you guys do on a weekly basis, I try to figure out how that changes it. So you guys just taking out the Den of the Hill Giants and putting Hook in charge, that just sent a ripple effect across all of Farron. That may change some things. That's going to have an effect. So this is now a living, breathing creature that adjusts on the spot, and I try to maintain very closely to what my initial thoughts were for purposes. Like I don't suddenly say, "Oh, that's a good idea. Dildo's now the big bad." You might have a role to play. I actually still know where Dildo is. I track him on a weekly basis along with a few others under my passive characters. I can tell you what town he's in right now, what inn he's staying at, and what he's doing there.
That's
But
Can you go ahead and tell us?
you guys may run across him again. You know what? I'm keeping it to myself. You never know. You'll run across him.
I mean, you did just
And
say
there's
I
a
could tell
variety of them.
you.
I could.
You know,
I won't. But I could.
the strange wanderers that came in. I'm
Oh.
guessing he was one of
Dildo's
them.
one of them.
That's a good twist. I like that. But
Yeah.
but I don't
Him,
think it fits
him,
into.
him, and Grizz's old man.
I don't think it fits into Grizz's storyline, but maybe.
That's him and his old man.
I feel like Grizz would have kind of known then. I don't know. Could be wrong. It'd be interesting.
Huh.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll be interesting as this thing lives and breathes and adjusts. Especially as you guys continue to get higher level and do more. What's the word I'm looking for here? Bigger things that are going to become more well known. I mean, you guys are already promoting yourselves as the Phandalin Phive. Word gets around on that sort of thing.
I feel
curious
like
about you
Emrook's the
when you
only
hear
one
about
throwing out gold and throwing out the name, but he's still going to keep trying.
So what's the whole point behind that? I mean, is that an actual thing that Amrook's trying to do, or like are we trying to, or is the group trying to get their name out there? What's that about?
I mean, Emrook is. Emrook's
I'm
definitely
going to keep listening,
trying.
guys. Go ahead. I'll be right back. I gotta let the dog out.
Emrook's definitely trying. I don't want to give too much about the backstory, but it's part of Emrook's backstory that he desires to. So.
He wants to be a little popular, huh? He wants to be a rock star.
Not
He's a rock
necessarily.
star.
It's not for the fame. I'll tell you. I'll give you that much. But it's not for the fame. But it is part of his quest to build out that legacy.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you have little Amrooks running around and you want to be a proud papa?
Something like that, we'll say.
I thought about doing something funny like that, like trying to build the character to where I have like kids everywhere or something weird like that. It's just
That would have been comical. That would
be
have been
like, oh, by the
every
way,
town we go to. Dad? Oh, I don't know you. I don't know you.
go somewhere else, kid.
See a kid that
Sure.
just looks exactly like Warwick,
That's
only
what we
smaller.
felt. That's what we felt like whenever we first left Dildo back in Phandalin, and we went to like Tribor, and we mention him, and they're like, oh, he has a bar tab, and we're like, fuck, we have to pay that, and so we paid that
Yeah.
tab, and then we go somewhere else, and they're like, oh, you know Dildo, he has quite a significant tab, and so we ended up paying that.
Yeah.
And from then, I think it might have happened one more time, but from there we were like, all right, nobody mentioned Dildo's name. We were gonna be poor.
We'll be poor.
Yeah.
Nobody likes him. Now that's interesting. I mean, I'll admit I haven't talked to the DM Garrett, whatever, about dildo shaggins, but it's interesting that he's still
Mhm.
in this realm. So I don't know. Maybe we have a side conversation and
Go
maybe
for
something
it.
will happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
It would be very interesting. Now, the question I have though is it normal to have how many people do we have in the group? 8, 7, 8, 9, something. Is that normal? Because I feel like it's normally like 4, 5-ish.
So it's doable, and I could tell Eric was gonna go there, so I just grabbed it. It's doable. It's about at the max though, and we've talked about this couple sessions that it really is at the max, and when you get that many people, it becomes a management issue, not only scheduling management, but turn management, because you figure if you aren't strict about the amount of time each person takes for their turn, and you have 8 people taking a turn, plus the DM, the ninth person, is taking the turn for 6 baddies. I mean, you spend your first 3 hours to do 2 rounds, so
Mhm.
um, it does become a management issue. It's probably a little easier with 4 or 5, but I mean, we have a pretty good crew here, and we've talked about as it progresses being a little stricter about that time period. But honestly, we have all gotten better about it, and I think that as people start to learn their characters more. I mean, I know you and um, Murph and Ashley are still kind of learning your characters. As you learn your characters more, you'll just be even quicker about it. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's I like that we have like the big group that we have, which is really cool. I think I just need to like I don't know, play it out a little better. I know there are still like some questions that I have to ask during the game just to try to understand what can happen. But I think, and this kind of goes back to that risk assessment that I was talking about earlier, right? I think what I need to do just to kind of play the waters a little bit is just start making decisions and seeing what happens.
Yeah,
Again,
just do it. If something bad happens, cool. If something good happens, cool.
yeah, it's
agreed.
really the only way you're going to
Yeah.
learn. And I feel like that's going to do two things. A, help me understand the dynamics of the game, but B, help speed things up a little bit.
Mhm.
Because I think the first time we played, I think it was like our turns, I went once every hour or something like that. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so long. When we were in, was it Grud Hall? Yeah.
Groundhog. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Grud Hall. Yeah. It took a while. So yeah, I like that we're open and talking about everything, but I also, yeah, I think speeding it up a little bit too is going to help out a little bit.
It would make it go faster. We'd be able to progress, get more in, and it would be more action packed. It'd be exciting. So I
Mhm.
agree, and I agree with go for it. But I will say that might be a good idea to either a review the actions taken just mentally, or even role play it. Like if Amrook does something that is completely opposite of what Warwick thought he was going to do, and it really fucks up his turn, like Warwick can have a conversation to Amrook so that they don't do it again, and that kind of helps
Right.
the party as well.
Okay. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think, yeah, I'm just trying to get that dynamic down of how to do that appropriately without, I guess, causing any. I don't want to say causing any issues because I don't feel like it's going to cause any issues in general, but without stalling the game or anything like that. But yeah, that makes
It's funny you say that. So the session you came in was the session right after Griswold fell on Amrook, and then we all escaped, right? And then Amrook is now pissed off at Griswold and is like, "What the fuck, Griswold?" And in the middle of him asking that, your character was like, "You're a crank ass," and so that's what you're afraid of happening, and that's what you did. So it's just a little funny. It's comical. It's ironic. So don't
Yeah,
worry about it. Like it's going
yeah,
to happen. That same situation could have been reversed. Like it just, that conversation between Amrook and Griswold was to prevent that from happening again and to say, hey, Griswold, I followed you. I had your back, even though you were an ass. Next time, stick to the plan.
yeah.
And at that very moment before that could happen, where it was like, what the fuck, dude?
You're kind of cranky.
Yeah.
Somebody's grumpy. No, okay, and that makes a lot of sense. And so, kind of going off of that, does the group in general, is there a leader of the group, or is this like a democracy?
Um, it's
Oh,
somewhat of
there's
a democracy. I think naturally there's people that take the lead. There's characters that take the lead, and I think naturally, as stuff messes up or this and that, they kind of step back a little bit and they're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, and it just naturally happens. I wouldn't say there's one single leader. I think it's for us, and Eric, you can correct me, but I think it's situational who kind of
Mhm.
steps forward.
yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can
Now we
hear
can
you,
hear you.
can't see you, but can hear you.
Okay, that's fine. I just switched to my mobile phone here while I'm out with the dog. Anyways, I was going to say, from my perspective, it was interesting to hear what you guys were going to say, but from my perspective, it's been interesting. I get to see each of you take a leadership role depending on what the situation is,
Mhm.
and I would say most of you, in one form or another, have taken a leadership role at different points.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely see Amrook as the or the strategy guy. So before fights, Amrook chimes in quite a bit, but then during the fight, he's all about the attack. Um, Griswold previously had tried to step forward with the role playing with merchants and stuff like that, and I think that was just out of necessity because no one else really stepped forward. But you saw this past session, he stepped back because we had someone else to fill that void.
Mhm.
Adrian kind of is stepping into that leadership of the reconnaissance and helping out with the strategy and pretty much anything that is like stealth or that type of stuff. And
I would say
and
the moral compass.
he's a little bit of the moral compass. I'll give
Yeah.
you that.
Yeah.
We did want to trick Moog one time, and Adrian was like, "No, please don't." And I
Yeah,
was
don't
like,
do
"All
that.
right, fine."
So,
And then
I,
she
Yeah, I would
still
say
was pissed off at us.
Yeah.
so I'm thinking about it from a perspective of the team. We have a really like I don't want to say average, but we cover like all the bases of um the mentalities, right? So like I see Amrook as
diverse, very diverse team.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
very diverse. Yeah, that's where I'm very diverse, right? So you have that. Yeah, I see Griswold as that guy who tries to always do good, right? And I think O'Doon might be going along that same path, right? I'm not quite sure, but I think that's where he's
Hmm.
going. I see I think it's Adrian, right? I think yeah, Adrian is kind of like that, kind of like you guys said, that moral compass. He's kind of looking at it from both sides and kind of seeing what's best for the team. Me, Warwick, I'm more on the chaotic side, but I haven't really let that out. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier about taking those risks. I think I need to do that more to really get into character. And then Amrook is, I don't know, my character still sees him as an ass for right now. So I feel like I
Which is
just
perfectly fine.
yeah, and
Grumpy
that's
dwarf.
yeah, and that's just because, kind of what we talked about earlier. I came in at that time when you were being a grump, right? So that's all I really know at this point is you were grumpy right then. So, and I think that'll change over time as we start to see things. And then the rogue dude, he's just a dick. I mean, that's he's tossing those washers or whatever they are at
The ball
people.
bearings, yeah.
Yeah, the ball
Yeah.
bearing. So he's just being a complete, trickster the entire time. So I feel like we cover the chaotic all the way up through the lawfully good fairly well, actually.
Actually, yeah, that's a very, very good point.
For sure. The only thing we need to throw in there is a cleric, right?
That's a
Yeah,
fair.
if you guys had an evil cleric, you had all bases covered.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like an evil cleric is just like a necromancer, right? That's
Yeah, pretty much.
Dead on.
yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
I mean, I almost was gonna create that character. That would have been awesome.
All right, so um, let's go ahead and talk about a couple more stats. So, detect magic. This was the first time throughout the entire campaign over the past year and a half that detect magic has been used. That's pretty
No, I use detect
No.
magic all the time.
Yeah,
really.
there's been at least
Yeah,
5 or 6 instances that I can think of.
yeah.
I cannot think of one time that I have
Um,
heard you cast it.
and Wave Echo Cave, I did.
Yep.
Um, during the
Store in Yartar.
the store in Yartar.
Okay, I
The
might remember the storing Yartar. Yeah, now
Um,
that you mention it,
after
because
the
you saw the
after
land.
the necromancer.
Yep.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
because we
Whenever you
found
met the knight before you went after the dragon at his place.
yeah, yeah,
I can't remember his name at the moment.
Really? All right. So it's
yeah,
just very subtle, I guess. I guess it hasn't
yeah.
been, yeah, a predominant part of the story. So it's just been like kind of in a background. But I'm
It's
glad
one
you
of
guys
those
pointed
things
that
where
out.
Adrian just casts it just because he's curious. Not like this time around. I probably could use the shield. I knew we probably didn't have enough gold for it, but I didn't even try to even pursue it until I think you guys did. I think Warwick did, but
Yeah.
it's more of a curious sort of thing than anything.
Right.
And it's an interesting thing with detect magic because you never know when. I mean, the times it would be most impactful from my side is when you don't expect magic to be there. So you're kind of just fishing a lot. You're casting it
Yeah,
out, you're casting it out, and it's one of those things that whenever it does show up one time, it's game changing, and it just
yeah,
hasn't yet. You got a few casts out there, and it's
yeah.
been interesting, it's been revealing, but nothing
Yep,
game changing
yep,
yet.
So hold
yeah.
on, is that a cantrip? Because if that's the case, I'm gonna just
No,
cast it all the time.
it's a first level spell.
Yeah.
Shit.
First level spell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the downside of it. Now, also, it's tough because it's only within a certain radius, and you guys have not done a ton of dungeon crawls yet, where it's more
yeah,
compact and it's more prevalent.
yeah.
So
But it does last 10 minutes and travels with you, right?
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah. So you can
yeah.
cast
you
it and
guys go
walk
so
around.
point to point that
Yeah.
yeah, that's why a dungeon again it's effective. Every room there's something potentially there. Whenever you guys are
Yeah.
going town to town, spot to spot, you basically have a one-off, and then you're gone. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'll behind the DM screen I'll say that I've got a note for detect magic that to make sure I'm using it effectively as well because it's certainly an interesting one.
Yeah.
No, I just didn't realize that we had it. And I mean, I knew, Siddle had access to it. I knew Adrin had access, but I feel like we just haven't used it.
Actually,
So,
no. Siddle does not have it.
oh really?
It's
Now
not. It's not.
he
It's not in
might
his.
now.
He might have.
The
Okay.
last time you
Oh,
looked at it was
okay,
before he
okay.
did the revision.
Okay.
Remember, he's now Siddle 2.0 with
Siddle
the
That's
could
yeah.
have
the
it
Yeah.
though. So theoretically,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
goes back to what we're talking about. If we found like a scroll of detect magic, he could then spend 100 gold, spend the
Mhm.
time, and copy it into his book and be able to
Yeah.
cast it.
Right. Right.
So I mean,
Yeah.
there's possibility there anyway. But no, that's interesting that it was that background that I didn't even notice we've used it 5 times. Pretty crazy.
yeah, that's intriguing.
So I got a question. So to cast the spell, you're supposed to use some type of something, right? You're supposed to use like a pinch of sand, some of your hair,
Mhm.
some blood, whatever the case, to cast a spell, right?
Or it's
We
a verbal component or a gesture.
right.
Yeah.
We currently don't do that. Is that something we're gonna start
Correct.
doing?
In a way, we do. It's not explicit. It's more implicit.
And that does beg a good question, Keegan. So during the drinking game, you tried to cast a spell, and so in order to see if like other people would notice, I kind of had to know like what you needed to do to
Right.
cast it, and so that's why
Mhm.
that brought that about and the sleight of hand. And Garrett played it perfect that you could do it under the table. Me being inexperienced, I didn't even think about it. I was thinking, oh, you just do it up here. No, if you were trying to be sneaky, you'd do it under the table. And so Adrin and Reed noticed you anyway. But yeah, it's a verbal component or something like that. And depending on how RP you want to get into it. If you really want to get RP, then yeah, you could actually play that out that you are, doing whatever, or tell and describe like how your spell is cast. But I feel like, and Erica, I'll let you chime in here. The average person isn't going to go that in depth.
No, and it's fun to do for like the first 2 sessions, but after that it becomes kind of monotonous.
Right.
And you have to know what you're using of every spell,
Yeah.
so it just
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of point I'm making is some of the spells require some really weird shit for you to be able to cast it, right? So I'm thinking like after we exit a battle, we're out of initiative and we're walking our way through the woods or something, and say I need a dandelion as part of something to cast a spell. I would need to physically look for a dandelion in the forest to actually be able to cast a spell again, right?
So I think Eric
Yeah.
has a really good way he deals with this, and we've talked about it before, and he mentioned like how he if you want to get that in depth, you also make the other players get into it as well. So I'll let you answer that, Eric.
So the first,
You don't want to?
I don't want. I'm just I don't want to.
So
So
the first thing is in the player's handbook is a spell component pouch, right?
Right.
And in the spell component pouch is assumed to have all the little intricacy things that you have to, like the pinch of sand, the
honeycomb, the
Yeah,
dandelion will be in that component pouch.
right. The only thing that's not though is any spell where you see that the component has a gold piece value.
Okay.
Like, so for instance, the spell identify, you have to have a pearl worth 100 gold pieces. And that's something that you should probably, if you're a wizard, you should probably have one.
Yeah.
Some of the spell components, some of those are used when cast. Like, it's used up. Like, that pearl is gone. But I think in that case, don't quote me on this, but I think in Identify the pearl is reusable. Or maybe I'm thinking of chromatic orb. One of the two.
No, the pearl's reusable.
Is okay. So there's some that are used up, and you have to replace them, but not all of them. It's the real like powerful spells that, I mean, even like Revivify and Raise Dead, things like that. Because just to limit it and make it not so, they're trying to make the game so like if a character dies, it's a big deal, right? And things like with Raise Dead, if it's used too often, then all of a sudden you don't have that fear of your character dying. Oh, I'm just going to be raised anyway. So what's the big deal, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll actually elaborate that on a little bit more, because coming into this, I had very strict thoughts on a few different things, and there's 3 things we really haven't tracked that we should per the rules, and we kind of either decided as a group or I've just specifically chose to ignore. One is how much weight someone can carry. I have not tracked that carefully. It's just there's not a huge benefit to it. It's more actuarial than anything else. I feel like what it brings to the game may have an effect in very rare circumstances, but you spend more time tracking it than you do being an issue, unless it's massive. You're not going to carry a 2-ton boulder around with you all the time.
Well, now that there's no weight restrictions, I might.
What are you going to do? Take all the quarterstaffs and swords you run across? You're too late for that. You've already got a member that does that. But 2 is the spell components. We have materials, semantic, and verbal. I've actually kept pretty good track whenever you guys were doing it about verbal and semantic. So hand gestures and speaking. If you were for some reason not able to speak, you're not able to do a hand gesture, that'd be factored in, because that can continuously be in play if you're grappled or other things. And actually this drinking game was a perfect example of it. So I feel like that's easy to track because it's in the moment. It's not actuarial along the way. It's, well, can you use your hands or you speak? Great. Right. But materials is, we've got 9 people already. You guys do a lot of role play and a lot of travel. This probably isn't the one where I'm like, no, you guys got to go find a freaking dandelion.
Yeah.
And there's not much. Cool with that. Yeah, there's not much risk to it. Like, oh, You go find a dandelion. To do that, you have to go track down a dragon and negotiate with them to get a
Right.
dandelion. Like, it's not
I
happening.
mean, kind of on that quest, right? Let's go kill a dragon for a dandelion.
I thought
Yeah,
you
well-
meant the dragon to the west that was named Dandelion. I didn't realize we were
Oh
talking
yeah, that's
about
exactly
a
it.
flower.
You,
Holy
you
hell.
need him.
I need him too.
Uh,
I need him.
And the third thing is food. I mean, I have not tracked food and water a lot. One, Advent kind of makes it unnecessary because he can gather enough for. Actually, you're now out of the group number that he can associate with. But I mean, how much do you guys really need to just go to town, find some food, buy it, come back? Like I said, if I wanted you to really initiate roleplay, I would have instituted it. But again, it's more actuarial, and with the group size that we have, let's focus on the story and the battle. Those are the things that I think you get more enjoyment with. If this is a 2 or 3 person campaign, sure, maybe it adds some interest here that you got to be more practical with it. Or if you were going deep underground, you guys maybe we got to talk about it a little bit more. But those are the things I just personally felt were unnecessary at the time.
Hey, it's Rusty. I just noticed Rusty was here.
Hey,
Yeah,
so unless
sorry.
you guys disagree, and if at any point we want to add it in, fantastic. But for now, I think we continue to leave that out, especially with everything else going on. So many people learning the game, and Carl, you mentioned earlier that we're finally starting to understand the players and speed things up. You're going to learn them just in time to move to level 7 and get a whole new set of spells and capabilities and actions, and we're going to be right back to where we were.
So the other workaround to that is spell focuses. So again, in the player's handbook, you can replace any material component if you have a spell focus, like a wand or a staff, a rod. A cleric has their holy symbol. A druid might have their druidic totem, things like that. And those they are to replace any material component that doesn't have a gold piece value.
I hadn't realized that. It's
Yeah.
been a while, so that's interesting to know.
Does that count for consumed components as well?
Only if it's a non-gold piece value material component.
Okay.
Like you
So-
still have to do the verbal, you still have to do the somatic. If it's a verbal and somatic, it replaces the material components.
So I was thinking with like sending, for instance.
Yeah.
We did have a shitload of little copper wires drawn out by the blacksmith.
Yeah.
Those are consumed. It specifies consumed, so that a spell focus would take the place of use of those. Yeah.
Right.
At what point in time do we get access to 3rd level? Is that when we level up? Like 3rd
Depends
level
on the
spells?
character type.
Huh.
What?
Yeah,
what
so
class are you
Citadel
again?
already has access to 3rd level, but I think you get 3rd level as a
It's 7,
well,
I think.
you actually would have already, but because you're multi-class, you've lost a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a bard wizard, so
Yeah, I had a question about that. So, I'm glad you actually brought up the fact that you are part wizard. So,
you're a
actually,
wizard.
we'll come back to it. We'll continue the discussion. Rusty, I wanted to hear your opinion as probably the lead spellcaster in our group. How do you feel about how we do the components? Are you happy with it? Like, is there anything you wish we required more of, so you had to think about more, or what?
I mean, so yeah, I kind of came in the tail end of that conversation, but I think that spell components that are consumed, we should probably pay quite a bit more attention to. You guys were talking like the pearl for identify. I feel like that could be a little bit hand wavy. I mean, where it's oh yeah, I went to town and I bought a 50 gold piece pearl, and I have that forever now. Unless it gets stolen from me or whatever, I guess. But that feels a little bit more hand wavy than consumable, I think.
It does,
That
but
makes sense.
do you think it adds a little bit more drama that could be stolen? Like, that's something maybe you shouldn't keep in the bag of holding because, the bag of holding could get stolen or anything like that.
I think it does, and I'm thinking I probably shouldn't have mentioned that in front of the DM, but...
Note already jotted down.
Just don't tell Reed. He will steal your pearl.
Yeah, really.
Steal spell components. Go.
Yeah. But no, it sounds like you're pretty happy with the way we're doing it. I think we're all pretty happy. I didn't mean to dive too much into it with the hand motions and stuff like that during the drinking game. It's just like if someone casts a spell of silence, you can't
Mhm.
cast a
Well, it's-
spell that takes a verbal component at
Right.
that point.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just one of those things that we
So-
haven't really jumped into too much, but like Garrett said, he's kept track of it in the background.
What
I
was
did
the-
that to my. Oh,
The rule
sorry,
during
Rusty.
the
Go
drinking
ahead.
game? Oh, sorry. What was the rule during the drinking game with somatic?
Warwick tried to cast a spell that had the hand motions, and I made him do a sleight of hand check.
Ah, that's right. So what about like, how would so one of my feats that I've got is Warcaster, where I can still perform the somatic components if I've got weapons in my hands or whatever.
I
guess
think
how
that's
does-
more of
how
a
does that
focus
sort
thing.
of-
You're going to like raise that weapon to cast.
Right. Okay, so there'd still be some amount of.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if during the drinking game could I disguise it as a, cheers, raise it in
Trying to
the air.
slash the bard, but you're
Yeah.
actually casting a spell on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I
I
would
would allow
say.
you to pretend to
yeah.
attack. Wow.
Well, not only that, I mean, I would say like it'd be another sleight of hand or performance check in that, and I guess
Yeah.
in that
It's a
sense, yeah.
distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would say that's a creative way to approach it. So that's a way to combine two different things there.
Yeah, I feel like go ahead.
Speaking of silence, I in game pissed off my one friend a couple last couple sessions before we've ended my Friday group there for a while. The party mage, they got dropped a silent spell on top of them, and now Dave's been playing for a long ass time, and he was playing his wizard. He went to go cast a spell, and I said, "So the spell components on that?" He goes, "Somatic, verbal," and I said, "Verbal." Sorry, Dave, your spell fizzles. And he's like, "Ah."
Okay.
Good call on that, man. That was awesome. That was good.
Do
You
you
missed
lose
an
the spell
opportunity.
slot?
Yep. And you lose the
Yep.
spell slot.
Oh.
Yep.
You missed
that's
an
painful.
opportunity to do a whatever of HAL 9000. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't let you do that.
Well, you know what? That was why Adrian was like hell bent on breaking Glassnow's fingers when we
Mhm.
beat him.
Which was actually effective. You
Yeah.
created an issue there for me at one point.
I'm
You greatly
pretty
limited
sure I
his
Broke his jaw
capabilities.
then as well.
Yeah.
You did. He was actually healed,
Yeah.
So
but fingers didn't come back. So yeah, I limited the number of spells that Glassstaff had access to after that. Whenever you guys
Huh.
fought him again,
good to know.
because of that.
That's a nice little tidbit.
Yep.
I feel like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong as DMs, creative trumps the rules. Like if the player is creative about how they do it, and they can actually give you an argument that makes sense, I'll allow it.
100%. 100%.
So Keegan, if you really wanted to cast that and you really didn't want people to see you, if you could have come up with some sort of creative way to do the hand motions, it probably would have went by without being noticed. So keep that in mind. If you're creative and come up with some sort of argument that makes sense.
Whatever, man. I'm just strumming my lute.
Playing like a turn, as we say.
I mean, I feel like enough people in that world understand that the bard uses the musical instrument to cast spells, so I feel like we may still notice that. I could be wrong.
I'm looking up
Perhaps.
now.
It's, different things like that, though. Absolutely. I love the creativity.
Either that or I'd make you, like, perform the song in order to do it, and then, okay, you did the song, it works.
I mean, I have no shame. You know I'll do it. It's fine with me.
my milkshake brings the boys to the yard.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm looking at Bard level 3 spells, right, to see what's going on. Now, what I don't understand is, once we level up, right, we'll be level 7, right? So I'll be.
Yep.
I think I'll be Bard level 5, Wizard level 2, right? And I
Yep.
have. I forget how many spells. I think I have 7 level 1 spells and 4 level 2 spells, right? But how does that factor in? Whenever I have access to level 3 spells, that doesn't necessarily, when I level up, it doesn't necessarily increase my spell slots, right? It may increase it by 1. I don't know how all
Yeah.
that works.
It'll increase it by 1, I think.
Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, it depends on your. It depends on the level you're going up in.
There's a little chart in the book that you're probably looking up on bards, and it shows you 1, how many spells you know, 2, how many spell slots you now have in that level.
And then, but let's say that you would only get 1 spell slot to level up that level of Bard. What if you got 3 spell slots to level up that level of Wizard? Could you do that,
Right.
though?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
won't see why not. So if
Theoretically, I'm not saying there would ever be a time that would happen, but that's hypothetical situation.
Alright,
Seems
so-
so. No, I'll have to polish up a little on my multi-classing now. This is the first time I've ever done it or encountered it, so I've kind of skipped over that chapter every time, other than the brief idea of how it works. So I've got some level up knowledge to do myself.
that's interesting.
It's funny in 3.5. I think every single one of my characters were multi-class. I think every single
Really?
character I played was multi-class. I have no idea how to do multi-class in 5e.
All right, we've all got some learning to do then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says that as I go to 5th level, which we will be hopefully soon. Well, I'll be 5th level Bard. If I
Bard, right.
upgrade that. I will then have.
We could always go back and kill some hill giants and guarantee the level.
Look, I'm fine with that too.
I'm not going back to fucking Bloodhog. You can leave my.
I should have 2
Evan
additional.
would be all for it. You could get Grizz on.
Yeah.
Grizz would be like, "Can I have that gavel?"
Yeah. He gets pissed off when we kill Gub, but then he'll go back and slaughter the whole
the
clan for the
The
gavel.
whole clan
Yeah,
for that
that'd be
gavel,
good.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think I have level 5 Bard. I should have access to 2. I get 2 level 3 spell slots.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I'll have 2 additional. So then I need to look up some level 3 spells, which is going to be interesting.
Now, when you level, some of the spells transfer over. Like some of the spells a bard and a cleric and whatever else can use. Are there any spells in which a wizard and a bard can use? Like we talked about healing spirit, a wizard doesn't have, but are there any spells that gaining that bard level would also give you 3rd level wizard spells, theoretically?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't
That'd be
know
pretty-
either.
There's a ton of them. I just don't know how that works. Like a wizard has to have the spell in their spell book, right?
Right.
Where a bard is kind of like a cleric there or a sorcerer. They don't have a spell book. They just know the spell. So I don't know how that works casting as a bard.
I don't know either, and that's my question that I was going to bring up earlier. So we now have 2 wizards in the party. If we get a scroll, either of them have the option to spend the money for the arcane paper and ink to add to their spell book, but can they both do that with 1 scroll? I wouldn't think so, but
I mean, if you're just copying it down, is that scroll consumed if you're not?
I think the
It
scroll
is
consumed.
consumed.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, there may be a way of recreating the scroll.
Once you've copied it.
Like you copy it,
Yeah.
and then you're able to. I think you can scribe scrolls. I just don't know what the process is. Like, might be like take you a day for like level 1 or 2 days for level 2,
Right.
and like 100 gold for level 1. I don't know the
So
technical.
All right, then theoretically, if Siddle has some spells in his spell book that Griswold can use, can he take the time and money, if Griswold pays or whatever, to scribe those spells so that he could cast them from the scroll instead of using the spell slot?
He
Yeah,
could
so
technically, yeah.
So here's
Yeah, I was
here's
gonna
how,
say, even if you couldn't officially, I'd allow it if under the right circumstances. That's the creativity.
Right. Yeah,
so
I was
here's
just
the
thinking that it kind of opens up a bunch of options. Maybe we should hit the paper store in Yartar.
Were we going to say,
Particularly,
Rusty?
I would say if someone has the has a forgery, not a forgery, yeah, forgery kit, or um is skilled in that, the ability to copy over and scribe.
But would that actually be arcane then? Because I feel like
Yeah, it has to be arcane.
yeah, it has to be arcane. You can't just create it. I mean, you could create a fake one, but it wouldn't be a real one because it wouldn't be arcane.
Yeah.
True. I feel like you have to have the balance though. Like Griswold copying it down with a crayon just because he's arcane. I don't know if I'd fully allow that, but if you had someone that could meet the difference, I mean, a wizard itself would be naturally skilled in, what's the word I'm looking for here? With text and everything else. I'll have to see how that would apply, but I don't know. I'll look into it, but I certainly would allow it in some form. It's just a matter of how, if it's not already in the rules.
Gonna have a fight between Warwick and Siddle to over the next spell scroll.
Maybe.
yeah. So here's
And what you guys don't know is the last 5 minutes of conversation has just assigned me a boatload of homework. So there goes 5 hours of my time between now and the next game.
So the thing for creating spell scrolls is out of Xanathar's.
Okay, cool.
So it basically lays it out like level, how much time, how many. I can make a cantrip scroll. Takes a day, costs 15 gold pieces. If I wanted to make a scroll of fireball to give to Warwick, 3rd level spell, that takes a week and 500 gold pieces.
Okay.
Okay. That
So,
sounds about right. So,
All
I
right.
mean, that's why they put like the cost and stuff to things like that. So just to circle back around to what we were talking about earlier, otherwise it would be too easy. So, yeah. All right.
I mean-
one more question, and then we'll go ahead and end this session because we don't want these to go too long. This
and
one's
I got
for
one
gonna
at the
be-
end too, Carl, real quick. Once you're
All
done.
right,
so-
all right.
Okay,
Since
go
you're
ahead.
the DM, I'll allow it. So
All right.
I was curious about this as we were playing, and I had talked to Evan beforehand, and Evan didn't quite understand the idea of actually saying out loud what you were going to do. He thought that if Griswold was going to pray, and Evan prayed out loud for Griswold, that meant Griswold was praying out loud. And he was like, Griswold wouldn't pray out loud, so I'm not going to do that. And that's why he kept whispering. But, after talking to him, it clicked, and he was like, oh, okay, so that's why this past session was the first time that Evan has prayed for Griswold out loud. And so I was curious with that. Did you already have Gabriel's voice keyed up? Or was that
No.
like an on-the-spot
No.
voice?
That was on the spot as far as voice, response, thought process. As soon as he started saying it out loud, I was like, fuck, I don't have any time to think about it.
That's what I thought. I was just curious. You did a great job, don't get me wrong, but I was like, shit, I wouldn't have that planned.
Yeah, that one put me on the spot, and it was. I'm gonna go back to last Echo session or Echo Chamber. Is we talked about what's easier, a battle or a role play for the DM, and I'm like, role play. I don't have to do anything. You guys take care of it all. And whenever that happened, in that moment, I was like, crap. Can I take back my answer? These are the things I hate about role play. Because I'm just so worried. I told you earlier I had this entire world built. I'm just so worried about what I say that I either give away too much, too little, or throw a loop in things that break it. And it's like, oh, I gotta make sure I'm meeting everything. Yeah, no potholes, no plot holes here.
Yeah, but no, I was just curious. Go
But
ahead.
I like it. It was definitely, I like it better. It was good. It was definitely best. I'm glad we moved to that. But yeah, certainly.
I think it was better for the rest of us to actually hear Griswold pray, and something in it for me actually like clicked that, oh, okay, Griswold is religious, because like Evan had mentioned or whatever before, but it wasn't like a thing, and now when he like walked away and played with himself, it clicked.
I like it.
Yeah, that's interesting actually. So I'm glad it was beneficial for the group too, and not like another time waster that we had to sit here and watch.
I mean, when he didn't like the answer and he prayed again, it was kind of like, all right.
Yeah, get used to it.
I mean, if I were you at that point, I would have been like, you hear silence.
If you went back and look at a lot of the whispers, there are a lot of those. You hear silence.
Yeah.
I gave a little more this time because I thought it was justified, but yeah, a lot of those. keep that in my back pocket.
All right, what was your question then? And then we'll close out.
All right, well, you said me as the DM, you're going to allow it here, and then mine's going to wrap back around. I get to be on the opposite side here because you got to play DM for a little bit here, Carl. In the last session, you had a good portion of it. That was you. I just sat back and got to enjoy it. That was the easiest role play I've done, and I enjoyed it. So I got a two-part question for you here. One, did you enjoy it, being a DM within the own campaign as you thought you would? I know you like dreaming it up, but did you enjoy actually playing it out as much as you thought you would? And two, did it play out the way you thought or hoped that it would?
All right, so first of all, I wouldn't call that DMing as we were playing a game.
I would.
Because I didn't have to spend the time in building a whole story. I put together a small game with some pieces and thoughts here and there. But
no, you described the picture. You built the game. You walked through the process. You ran it. That was you, man. You DM'd it.
We'll use
you had a good basis of it.
We'll loosely say DM'd. And I'll answer your second question first there. So did it go as I expected? So I definitely expected from the bat Keegan to cheat. I knew Keegan and if Murph was there, Murph was going to cheat too. I knew those two were going to cheat. So I had that in my mind. But other than that, I tried to put not too much expectation into it because I didn't want it to be one of those things where like I was like, oh, you guys got to do this, and then everybody hated it, and I was like, crap. So
I feel like it wasn't cheating. I feel like I was just trying really hard.
You cast a spell to try and win a game that did not require you to cast a spell.
Did it though? I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
Hey, if you're not trying to cheat, you're not trying to win, right?
Exactly. So, just saying. I was just trying to win and learn a little bit more about you guys in the process. I feel like that's called team bonding, right?
I also loved, Keegan, that you had a second gold up ready to go again because you were like, I can't believe I lost. Like, that's not going to happen again.
Absolutely. I was going to keep this shit going. But then when you start to be like, oh, by the way, you drink another beer and you're feeling it, I'm like, ooh, maybe not. Maybe not. Because I feel like it'd be my luck to lose that, and it just wouldn't work out for me. So.
Yeah, and plus it was low gold, it was low risk. So, I mean, keep it simple. And to answer the first part of the question, did I enjoy it? I actually felt so much pressure off of it that no, I didn't. I mean, to play as a character and make some decision is one thing. For a character to say, I want to do this, and you have to tell them no, or you have to like figure out how that works on the spot, is too much pressure. And I did not. I enjoy creating the backstory. I enjoy like talking to you about, oh, this would be cool, or this could tie into this, that type of stuff. But to actually like go through that process on the spot, no thanks. I'll leave that up to the three other DMs in the room. Shine bright.
Three other.
Shine bright, Eric, and
shine bright.
Well, listen, I thought you did a nice job with it. I compliment you again, and in particular that whenever Keegan was ready to go again, Warwick was ready to go again, as a DM, those are the kind of things that I take I take as a compliment. Like, hey, he's enjoying the game so much, he's ready to play again.
Yeah,
I definitely did. I took it as a compliment. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I'd do that small bit again, but as far as actually DMing an entire battle, I don't know if I'm ready for that. There's a lot of pressure there to describe every single action and figure out how everything works with each other, and oof, it's a lot. So
you can do it. All right.
I got one more.
Go ahead, Rusty.
Please.
How do you guys, my fellow players, feel about just like, fuck it, let's just crank out spell scrolls on the side and make some extra coin?
Kind of like the boating idea. We just built a fleet and we meet up with them and we sell scrolls on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there is options out there to do like downplay, like downtime stuff and things like that, where you can set up, side businesses and things like that to kind of earn some extra coin or whatever. I don't know if we are at that level yet.
I think we need a
But
little bit more gold backing us. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I mean, you don't know what I'm packing yet, so just saying.
About 8 inches from what I hear.
No, that's not me. That's
No, I'm just
Uh,
kidding.
Pimnam.
that's the
That's
other guy.
Pimnam.
Yeah, that's Pimnam, the pimp. Pimnam the pimp. I like.
Pimnam the pimp.
I mean, we could definitely, sell some fire giant potions and some things like that. I get that there is a market ability there, but
It's also one of those things where it's fine if your players have quote unquote the time, but I mean we literally are in town for a day. I don't think we spent anywhere longer than a day anywhere.
Tribor. So we
Well,
spent like 3 days
2
in
days,
Tribor.
2-3 days. Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
Yeah,
did
that's it.
you made the
yeah,
health potions there.
yeah,
In fact, that health potion came back and brought you back to life in Grudhog, because
yeah.
the health potion that I had was the one you gave me after creating it. So fun fact
Right.
there. But I will go ahead and end the echo chamber session there. If anybody has anything to close, if not,
Hey, happy May the 4th with everybody.
Absolutely.
stole the
May
words right
force
out of my
be
mouth.
with you.
I just want to let everybody know that I stopped watching Bad Batch just to come down here and do Echo Chamber.
I like it. I was
Got
ready.
about 10
Very
minutes into
nice.
it with my daughter, and it already seems pretty interesting.
Cool.
I like it. That's good
Very
stuff.
nice. Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and watching, and may the 4th be with you.
May the fourth be with you.